I get it. I get it. Sometimes it's hard really to comprehend what it is that the left is doing. Because they're insane. They're just insane. Every day, it's like they wake up and there's a problem, You have to ask them, is there anything right? Is there anything right in your life? Is there anything you like about this country? Is there anything that's good about this country? No. Every day, they're arguing about things that we just did not have issues regarding growing up. I mean, who would have ever thought that one day we would be debating bathroom signs? They're not inclusive enough. They're not inclusive enough. Now you go to college campuses and the kids are all being asked to write down all of their pronouns. That's what they're asking kids to do, to respect their pronouns and to make sure that the bathrooms have these preambles on them that say any person or species can go here. And you wonder, how did we get here? How did America get to this place? What are they doing?
Hey there, political enthusiasts. Today, I'm breaking down Candace Owens' electrifying speech at the People's Convention in Detroit. Buckle up because she didn't hold back. Candace Owens kicked things off by celebrating her resilience against cancel culture. She highlighted her podcast success and unwavering Christian faith, setting the tone for what was to come. Owens hit hard on the importance of putting America first, calling out politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Ocasio-Cortez for prioritizing foreign issues over our own. She slammed the mismanagement of taxpayer dollars and the treatment of veterans. Owens didn't shy away from critiquing the LGBTQ agenda, arguing it undermines traditional values.
Unforced error. Well, let me tell you something, America. It does feel so good to go everywhere in the world and to realize that there is awakening not just happening here. Let me tell you guys, it's happening all across the globe. People are starting to ask the hard questions. And you start getting close when they start to call you names. They instantly want to suggest that there's something wrong and there's something backwards about being America first. You're starting to hear the way they're framing that now. When you say you're America first, they'll ask you, what do you mean you're America first? Do you mean that you're an isolationist? Do you believe that we shouldn't have did what we did during World War II? All of these things trying to pollute it. It's not that difficult. America first. First name America, last name first. We put this country's interests before the interests of foreign countries overseas. All of them. I don't care. And suddenly, we're living in a country where we have presidential candidates that get on stage and they're not comfortable with that, right? We're seeing people get on stage left and right and they're not comfortable with the idea of not mining taxpayer dollars and sending them overseas into some black budget so that the state can come back to us and say, we actually have no idea where all the billions went, but good luck feeding your family, right? They're not comfortable. They question you. I had to shut down Piers Morgan a couple of days ago as he was... And they always frame it, like I said, it's just a game of name calling, right? You're isolationist. What was his thing? Oh, well, if you don't support Zelensky, then it must mean you support Putin. You must be a Putin puppet if you don't want to send your billions of dollars, your billions of tax-paying dollars to a corrupted oligarch in Ukraine, because that's exactly what he is. They try to make it seem like there's something wrong with not wanting to fight endless wars. For realizing you wake up and you go, we're fighting all these wars, and our borders are porous. We're defending Zelensky's borders, and we can't defend our own. Are you kidding me? You're going to suggest that there is something wrong with the idea that we want to put our citizens first? And it would be one thing. It would be one thing if we sent our boys overseas and they came back and they were treated well. Look at the way they treat our veterans. Look at the way they treat our veterans. Look at the VA. It's a disaster. You mean to tell me that our veterans get one day and the LGBTQLM never-ending alphabet community gets an entire month? Really comprehend how disrespectful that is. Really comprehend what it really means when these journalists come at you and they ask you why you don't worship the LGBTQIA never-ending dyslexic agenda. That's why I'm getting dyslexia. With this alphabet soup community. Everybody's got a problem. Everybody has a feeling. I'm non-binary. I'm a fish today, And I feel like you're not respecting my fish pronouns. And so we're going to need longer than a month. We're going to need an entire quarter to teach people these things. Really think about what it means when you have journalists up there that are lecturing us about pronouns and they don't think about the people that go over and they serve this country. They don't think about the people that fight for our freedoms every single day. It appears to me that they resent the American people. They resent the American people. And the answer to why that is because we understand that these are state actors. We understand that these journalists, of course, this dream that we were sold in school, you know, when I was majoring in journalism and learning that the New York Times is a trusted source. You actually learn this if you major in journalism. Like, how do you know if you're looking at real news? Well, if it's the New York Times, it's definitely true. That's what they teach you in school. If it's CNN, it's definitely true. That's actually what you learn as you are studying journalism in school. They want you to be programmed to do the bidding of the state. And when you go through that process and you recognize that these journalists are doing exactly that, they are protecting state interests. They are protecting the interests of a very small few at the expense of all of us. I think the worst thing is that it's not just at the expense of all of us. Now it is at the expense of children, right? Of children. You know, I get it. Sometimes it's hard really to comprehend what it is that the left is doing. Because they're insane. They're just insane. Every day, it's like they wake up and there's a problem, you know? You have to ask them, is there anything right? Is there anything right in your life? Is there anything you like about this country? Is there anything that's good about this country? No. Every day, they're arguing about things that we just did not have issues regarding growing up. I mean, who would have ever thought that one day we would be debating bathroom signs? They're not inclusive enough. You know, they're not inclusive enough. Now you go to college campuses and the kids are all being asked to write down all of their pronouns. That's what they're asking kids to do, to respect their pronouns and to make sure that the bathrooms have these preambles on them that say any person or species can go here. And you wonder, how did we get here? How did America get to this place? What are they doing with feminism? Encouraging women to act like men, right? Constantly telling women, brainwashing them in the school system to think that men are awful. The patriarchy is always out to get them. The patriarchy is behind every door. And encouraging women to act like men. Abandon your natural biological instincts. Abandon the concept of wanting to start a family and go climb the corporate ladder. And so women are pursuing those things to their own detriment. Women aren't happy. Women don't want to work 80-hour weeks and to make $35,000 a year just so you can say that you have a career. Because what? Beyonce said, like, you know, some feminist things and Taylor Swift said some feminist things and now you're suddenly on some sort of a program and you haven't even stopped to look up and actually think about what it is that provides you value and what makes you happy. And then feminism is simultaneously telling our men to act like women? Does that make any sense? Have more feelings. Cry more. Comprehend toxic masculinity. All of these fruity phrases, right? There's something inherently wrong with being a man. Stop doing that thing when you're acting like men. That's what they're saying, right? And then you have them constantly working on our children in the classrooms. And this really is a thing that women have got to understand. The big mistake of letting the state step into our households and decide that they're going to raise our children. Free school, they said. Education, everybody deserves an education. That was the pitch. The fact of the matter is we've never handed out more degrees in our society. We've never produced dumber kids. And I'm talking about actually factually dumber kids. Mathematically speaking, in terms of their English writing, these are the dumbest kids that we've ever produced. That's a fact. I was saying earlier to a group of kids, go back, do yourself a favor, just Google it. Go read one of the letters that like an 18-year-old soldier wrote during the Civil War when he was just writing to his mom back at home. It sounded like poetry. These kids today can't even write sentences, right? They can't even write sentences. And you have the majority of kids right now, I think it's 40% actually, not the majority, 40% of kids in America cannot pass a basic literacy exam. And yet we're handing out tons of degrees. We're actually we're saying, okay, well now if they get a 70%, let's just call that a B. They're getting rid of AP classes and honors courses, right? They want everybody to feel good, even though they don't know anything. And you need to understand this because that is the beginning of everything. What they're actually doing, and pay attention really close, is they're recreating slavery. They're recreating slavery. There is a reason that the slave codes, inherent in the slave codes, was the inability. You were not allowed to teach a slave how to learn to read. Why? Think about that. Why? Why was that such an important slave code that even if you were a slave owner and you were caught teaching a slave how to read, you were punished? What was the reason? Because an educated mind cannot be enslaved. The state knows that. So their initiative is, how do I make you think, this is what the state is doing, how do I make you think you're the most educated person in the world when in fact you know nothing? You don't know how to take care of yourself. You don't even know what gender you are, right? You don't even know what gender you are. You've been in school, you've got all these degrees, they're feeling so confident. I majored in gender studies for 4 years, paid $100,000, I majored in gender studies. I majored in feminist dance theory. 4 years. I'm so smart. I know all about feminist dance theory. Here's a degree. Okay, here's a degree. And what happens is these kids get out in the world and they know nothing. They can't survive. These kids don't know how to work with their hands. They don't know how to change a light bulb. These kids are convinced that they are so brilliant because they're holding a meaningless piece of paper and they don't even know how to change a tire. And what automatically happens, they start to resent the people that do. You want to talk about why there are constantly these depictions of people in the South, conservatives. Oh, they're backwards, they're white, they're racist. The people in the South, they're not like the New York City latte sipping writers who write hit pieces about Candace Owens. No, he's so brilliant. How am I going to get her today? This is how they act, and they think they know everything. These people can't survive. They're slaves. They don't even know they're slaves. I don't even know. Greatest example of that is COVID. Man, if that was not a psychological test on America. Psychological test. And I'll tell you what it was about. I'll tell you what it was about. It was about the government trying to see if they had successfully created a system where people would believe they were God. God. Literally. They were just like, let's just make stuff up and see if people abide by our ridiculous commandments. Commandment number 1, 6 feet social distancing. I said, no way people are going to do this. Suddenly I went into the grocery store and I was watching people do this on the pads. Walking around like robots on the pads. God forbid you forgot something, right? You couldn't go backwards. You had to go all the way back around. You're like, just a cereal I was just going to grab. The person behind you's looking like, no. I'm like, surely this is not real. And they had the mask policies that made entirely no sense. You're on a plane. They're like, well, if you're 2, you don't need a mask. If you're 3, you do. I'm like, okay, wait, no, I'm sorry. Can you explain the science? Doesn't matter. Get kicked out of the plane. You'll be banned for life if you don't abide by these mask mandates. Suddenly they're saying to people, don't go see your family on Thanksgiving. No. Government really testing you, right? Do you love your family more than you trust the government? Trust the experts? Trust Fauci? Trust the state? And sure enough, people got in line. And then they wanted to see if you would give them your bodily autonomy. Would you make a sacrifice, you know? If we said it enough times, if we got enough of our little mockingbirds to just keep repeating these phrases, a true experiment in mass brainwashing, would you do it? Wear a mask, save lives. Don't go see your grandma. Stay home, save lives. And people were doing this. You should always pause and reflect on what a great evil that was done with the mainstream media complicit in this evil to allow people to die alone, to allow people to have side effects from vaccines, the censorship that took place online, people that were trying to communicate some of the side effects so people could at least make reasonable decisions, decide if they wanted to take the risk and get the vaccine. They weren't even allowing speech. Let me tell you something right now. Whoever it is that is calling for speech to be censored is a liar, okay? A liar. I don't care what the subject is. You should be allowed to hear the debate. I do not care who the person is. You should be allowed to hear what they say because you know what? You're smart enough to understand what you are listening to. You don't need the government to censor ideas for you. The government is not your God. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The government has very much become the devil in our lives. And speaking to that point, because now that we understand what it is that they are actually attacking, when you look around and you're wondering, what are all of these things that connect these various topics? COVID. You've got the freaking environmental lobby, right? The kids skipping school because they think the planet's going to die in 10 years. Because they don't know it. They tell us all the planet's going to die in 10 years, right? We were all told in school we were going to die in 10 years. Global warming, global cooling, the ozone layer, acid rain. You know, they kind of pick a thing and then it doesn't happen. And then they just pick another thing. Trust the science, trust the experts, la, 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 we got it. And you wonder, what's that got to do with the trans agenda? What's that got to do with the LGBTQIA never-ending month, the non-binary fishes that are walking around? What's that got to do with COVID? What's that got to do with the bathroom signs? What's that got to do with feminism? And the answer is simple. Family. The government is trying to destroy and corrupt the biggest guard against the government, stable families. My friend Jack Posobiec often says something, and it's true. You want to be a rebel? Start a family. Start a big family. Have kids. Get married. Right? That's the truth. You revisit those topics and you realize they are telling these kids who are afraid that the planet is going to be over, that it would be irresponsible for them to have kids. That's what's at the end of that ideology. Trust the government, give us your money, we'll fix the planet, you give us your tax dollars, we'll fix the temperature somehow, and don't have kids because the planet's going to be over in 10 years. To the feminists, they say, well, look at the patriarchy. Wouldn't you rather just be a lesbian? Right? To men, like they're suddenly making women something that men don't desire. They're making men something women don't desire. Listen, fellas, I love you, but when you cry all the time, maybe one sad tear at your daughter's graduation, one lone tear, but now you've got
slaves. According to Owens, the government's agenda is to create an uninformed and dependent populace, perpetuating a form of modern slavery. She didn't stop there, condemning the government's control during the COVID-19 pandemic, labeling it a psychological experiment to test compliance and limit personal freedoms. Owens urged Americans to resist censorship and fight for free debate, asserting that government control over speech is a lie. She tied together her concerns with a powerful warning. The government is trying to dismantle stable families, one of the main bulwarks against state power. She championed traditional masculinity and femininity, warning that eroding these values undermines society. And in a stirring conclusion, Owens reminded everyone that the country was founded on Christian principles, with Christ as the ultimate figure the government seeks to suppress. Candace Owens' speech was a fiery call to action, challenging the status quo and urging Americans to stand firm in their values. What do you think about her points? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more political breakdowns. Catch you next time.